Hello, everybody. Welcome to another exciting episode of Jimmy's Jambox. We're here. We're back at it again, and we're going to get on into it. But before we do, as always, please make sure to like, subscribe, push all the buttons, do all the things. You know, I don't know where they are, but you do, and I trust you. With that being said, here's a quick word from our sponsors.
Organic herbs and botanicals, skincare and edibles, wellness for body and mind. The Brothers Apothecary. Fine teas and remedies. Ronald Records. From indie gems to classic hits, discover the heart of local music. With live shows all the time, up close and personal, and regular releases on their in-house label. Ronald Records. Supporting the community, one track at a time.
All right. Thank y'all so much for watching. Again, shout out The Brothers Apothecary, Ronald Records, and Portland Water. Thanks for keeping us hydrated. With that being said, let's go ahead and get on into it. Here is today's guest.
Hi, my name is Divine.
Hello.
Hi.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks.
Yeah, why don't you tell us a little bit about, who you are, where you're from, what you do. Give us that Tinder profile of your involvement with music.
Okay, cool. So my artist name is Divine, but my real name is Kalani.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people know me by Kalani. I grew up in Eugene, Oregon. Yeah, that pretty much sums it up. I'm 25. Oh, actually, oops. My birthday was yesterday. I'm 26.
Oh, happy birthday. Nice.
Thanks.
Oh, and didn't your EP just come out yesterday too?
Yeah, my EP dropped yesterday, my very first project.
Nice. So. Well, we'll talk about that more in the middle.
Okay.
But let's jump right back to the beginning. What got you started into music initially?
So I got divorced almost 2 years ago now. And I don't know, I always wrote music,
mm-hmm.
but the divorce kind of just pushed me into the rap side of things. Gotcha. I thought I wanted to sing, mm-hmm. but I was too shy. So I was like, well, I could rap and get this out. And some people were just really vibing with my stuff. So I was like, okay, let me just keep going and see where it goes,
I dig that.
Yeah.
And even further back though, growing up, was anybody else in your household musical at all?
Not really in my house growing up, but me and my sister, we lived in different houses, but me and my sister, we always listened to music like Chris Brown, Sierra. We listened to a lot of Beyonce. Watching what is it called? The video on demand music videos.
Oh man, you're asking the wrong person. I'm sorry.
Oh man, it was old Comcast or old Verizon or something. I don't know. Anyways, we used to watch those music videos, and yeah, that's what inspired me initially. Oh. I danced choreography dancing.
Oh, okay.
As I was growing up from a small child until my middle teens. So I don't know. Music's just kind of always been a part of my life.
Gotcha. Okay. And did you want to start dancing, or dance initially, or was that something your parents wanted you to get into? How did you fall into that?
I would just dance around the house all the time. Any music that they put me on to, Mariah Carey, Chris Brown, Sierra.
Okay.
Destiny's Child.
Yeah.
I would just really feel it, and they could tell I was really into it. So, my grandmother, my nana that raised me, she just put me in a dance class. It was a little boot camp for summertime,
mm-hmm.
maybe when I was 3 or 4.
Okay.
And then
yeah,
saw that I just took into it, and yeah, the rest is history, like you said.
Hell yeah, that's rad.
Yeah.
Now, before we get into more of what you do with music in the present day,
mm-hmm.
I do have a couple foundation questions I like to check in with everybody on.
Okay.
And this first one, it's one we ask early, it's one we ask often, and it's definitely a crowd favorite.
Okay.
What was the first album you ever bought with your own money?
Album I ever bought with my own money would have to be Mariah Carey, Butterfly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And was that just because it was you were you had already like grown up listening to her music, or was like
pretty much?
okay,
yeah.
I dig that. And then what was one of the first live shows you ever went to that was like specifically one you wanted to go to?
I can't remember which one I went to first.
That's okay. You can say both.
But I think it was Chris Brown. Me and my sister. Like, that's the most significant one. I probably went to ones like as a younger child, but like that one was like, it was amazing.
Who was he performing with?
Fabulous opened up for him. OT Genesis opened up for him.
Oh, dang.
I think those are the ones that I can remember. Yeah, and he was awesome. That was like back in like 2018 or something like that.
Okay, hell yeah. I bet that was a rad show.
Oh my goodness, it was amazing.
And then before we officially get into the now, do you have a defining moment where you decided you wanted to take music more seriously?
Not a significant point where I can just be like, oh, this was it, you know? It was just kind of like after I did the first song and then I realized like more than just me was liking it. Then I was like, oh, okay, maybe I should just try a little harder, put a little more effort into it. And when I did, then more opportunity came, so.
Oh yeah, I mean, that sounds like a pretty solid one in and of itself.
Yeah.
Well, then let's go ahead and let's go down into the now.
Okay.
We are going to get a super easy one out of the way. How'd you pick the name?
Okay, so I used to be a stripper like 5 years ago. Well, actually, I've been off for like a year. So 5 years prior to that.
Oh, hey, me too.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
And when I was a stripper, my name was Divine.
Okay.
And so whenever I like started doing music, I was thinking like, what's my name going to be? And I was like, but I'm divine. Like, I'm already divine, you know? And I just switched the E to a 3 because I'm on some spiritual stuff. And so.
What does the 3 signify?
It signifies like strength, power, unity. It's like the Trinity, the triangle. It's like just the strongest shape in like nature, you know?
I dig that. Well, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, no problem.
Now let's go ahead and let's talk about your writing style a little bit. And we're going to break it up into chunks, but we're starting right at the beginning.
Okay.
So when you get inspired, you're ready to make music. What are some of the things you do to get a track started?
Go be alone. Definitely go be alone. Like, it doesn't really matter where, but I like to be in a very open space usually. And whatever, like, I'll just hear like the birds chirp or like a thought from like 4 months ago that I had and I really wanted to write it down, but I forgot to, came back to me in that moment. And then I'm like, oh yeah, that was fire. Let me put it in my notes really quick, you know? So yeah, just solitude really. But at the same time, like being, you know, free, open. Like that's how I get my inspo usually.
Do you usually like bring music with you or do you just kind of write and then bring it onto music later?
Yeah, exactly. That's my process. Like I write first, and then I find music that matches whatever my thought is because I just think that like all thoughts are like recycled. Like they just kind of go like this. So I know that I will find something to match my words. I know it, you know, and it's worked out so far.
I dig that. And then I guess how do you go about like beat selection? Do you like go on the internet? Do you know people that make beats? How do you go about curating those?
I used to go on the internet, but now I know people from traveling around. And then, you know, my engineer and my producer, he's awesome. Liquid Smoke, he sends me a lot of, you know, beats or beat packs. He's like, do something with this, you know.
Oh yeah, I dig that.
That's how I got a lot of the beats from my EP actually. So.
Oh yeah, well that's rad.
Yeah,
it's always helpful to have somebody who's just like this beat feels like a you beat instead of you having to like scroll through and like tire your ears out just hearing 1,000 of the Drake type beat style things.
That's what I don't love.
Yeah,
I don't love sitting there drowning myself with beats because then it's like reading a boring book and I'm just like not even into it, you know?
Yeah.
I want to be into it when I'm like looking for beats and stuff and I'm like, oh yeah, I wrote some fire lyrics. This will go perfect with it, you know?
Yeah.
Or I can come up with some fire lyrics for this too, you know? I'm starting to learn how to do that more too. So.
Oh yeah. I think it's cool too to be able to be like, hey, I love 90% of this, but can you change this one thing?
Oh, absolutely.
And like have the person be like, yeah, here you go. It's this now.
What's really cool is when I work with Liquid primarily, or even when I worked with Nia Nostra in New York, it was cool how whenever I was laying down the tracks, they were able to tweak it in the ways that I was going to suggest without me even saying anything. But by hearing me lay down the vocals, you know what I'm saying? They were like, oh, they heard what I heard without, so that's a cool process.
That's a good relationship to have with any producer or beat maker. Oh, yeah. And then once you get a track finished, like writing, so it doesn't have to be like released per se, but you've gotten it all down, you're ready to start memorizing it. How long does it usually take you? How long does it usually take you to feel comfortable enough to perform it?
That's kind of hard to say because I don't know what it's called, but like when you're obsessed with every new song that you make, like, so any song that I make on the way home from the studio, once I've or honestly, even once I've written it and I memorized it and I have the beat, like I'm just over and over again. And then once I lay it, because I like to go to the studio and just already know what I'm going to say. So then we can just play with the ad libs and we can we can fix what we need to fix. The more that it's just, if it's already what's the word? Like memorized, then it's just easier for me.
Okay. So you kind of take that old school approach of just being like, I'm going to show up to the studio already knowing the song. Just
lay it down.
Okay.
And then, whatever, we'll fill it or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. Not doing a lot of punch-ins from that point.
I actually just learned how to punch in, and I realized that it is helpful in this this EP that I just dropped. I definitely learned that punching in can definitely be useful especially when you're trying flows that you're not 100% mastered yet. So yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a good duality to both. I think that like if you show up ready to go, and then later you're like, I want to change this line. It's so much easier than just punching in line after line after line. And it feels a lot more concise in the end.
Exactly.
So it's really like your approach is definitely like, at least for like my experiences, I feel like the more solid approach to take. So like learning punching in now after practicing always going in and doing the full thing first, that's definitely the way to go about it.
I think doing the full thing first also helps me like practice my cadence. Which I didn't even know what that was a while ago, but now I do. And I know it's important because it definitely changes like the feeling and like just the sound of the song altogether. So, but punching in, is definitely useful too. So
yeah, very much.
I'm happy I know both sides now.
Yeah. And, I did, sorry, my thing's giving me some grief here. I did go and check out your music.
Oh.
And, you've got music going back to last year on Spotify.
Yep.
And it's all really cool. Like, I mean, first of all, you've got some solid features. For the tracks that you did with other people.
Oh, thank you.
But aside from that, your own music is really interesting. I enjoyed it a lot. I feel like your singles, you gave a lot of energy into. Like you really, like each approach felt a little bit different. Each one kind of had its own vibe, but they were all solid. It kind of, it shows what you said, how you like went in ready to go because it felt very tight.
Thank you.
And then your most recent EP, Hard Rain, it feels really put together. Like your flows are very articulate. Everything has a drive and a topic, which was the one thing that I felt your singles not like lacked, but your singles are very like, here is the lines that I think fit the song and these are the moments. But in the EP, I felt like each song had its own topic and it really gave kind of a more concise imagery throughout each one, as well as kind of the total presentation of the EP.
Awesome.
It felt really well put together and I enjoyed it a lot.
I really I'm so happy that that's what you took away from it because that's like exactly what I wanted to put out. Just even sonically, I remember me and my friend, we were listening to it and I was like, for instance, 333, it was not like on purpose that it's the third track and it's not on purpose that it's 3 minutes and 33 seconds. Like all of that stuff is just, that's just how it was. And whenever we were listening, I picked the tracks out that I was going to put on the EP. And so I'm listening to it and I'm like, that's just where it goes. Like, I'm not trying to, so yeah, there was a lot of energy, a lot of thought, a lot of love put into it. And I really wanted to paint a picture. I wanted Hard Rain to be like an experience and not just music that I threw together You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like how you were stating about my singles before, that's kind of like, yes, they were structured, but they were thrown together because that was the beginning of my artistry, and I wasn't I wasn't doing a project. I was just like getting some shit out there. You know what I'm saying? Getting off my chest. And so putting this project together was such a beautiful experience because I got to like learn more about myself and even more about music in itself and like the direction I want to go and all that kind of stuff. So yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, like I said, you definitely nailed it on the EP.
Thank you.
I am kind of curious because you said that this was really your first experience on like a project versus just like track to track. How was the EP experience? How was it like kind of guiding a structure of music and like working on a group of tracks?
It was a roller coaster. It was emotional. It was very emotional. I didn't expect it to be like so much pressure, and it was just self pressure. Like I put this pressure on myself, but like I felt like I needed to because I wanted to show, I wanted to show people like this is divine, and like I know I have a lot to work on. I'm not perfect, nobody is, but I definitely know I have growth. But I wanted to show like this is my basis. I can do a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and yeah, I forgot where I was going with that statement, but
you're all good.
I felt good to get off my chest, I guess.
Yeah, no, and like I said, it is a really cool EP, so I hope it's getting a good response so far because I definitely enjoyed it. But I am curious to know now, out of all the tracks you have available, what are some of your favorites?
Like from the EP?
Just in total. So it could be the EP, it can be your singles, it can be the ones you did with other people, just out of all your music.
So I love my features. My features are awesome. Both of them. I love both of them. My favorite songs of mine, I love them all. But right now I've been, once again, has me in a chokehold. Sweet Dreams, the intro to the EP, the one, and yeah, those are my favorites. If I had to pick like favorites, and then the staples are like You Feel Me and Be Rich. Like you can't go wrong with those ones.
Yeah.
Those are like what I would call my classics. 50 years from now.
And actually, one other thing I did want to say, I didn't put it on my notes here. I appreciated that you had an actual intro for your EP.
Thank you.
I think I've said this on many other episodes. Intros and like even like skit tracks and like things to kind of fill the space that are meant to like kind of segue music into other music sometimes, it's a little bit of a lost art. So anytime somebody like takes the time to like set the stage for a like collective music experience, I think it really brings something extra to the table.
Oh, 100%. I feel like storytelling from like a young kid, like writing was a big thing of mine. And so, yeah, I really like using that kind of structure. And like, so when you're closing your eyes and you're listening to it, it's kind of, you can get some better imagery out of it, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've definitely said this on the show a million times. So for regular watchers, I'm sorry. The first album I ever bought with my own money was The Carter, like the original. The Carter.
Okay.
And the opening track, and then in the middle and the end, he does. It's basically it's not a skit, but it's a descriptive track, and he's describing this house. That like he literally like the first line is front door living room. Like you walk into this house, and he describes it so well that you can see it. It has almost nothing to do with the rest of the album and in the way the album is, but just the fact that that's the opening and then it brings you back to it and then it puts you back in the album and then it takes you back at the end.
Absolutely.
His way of doing that is just the most powerful way of like making you experience something with just words, but I can draw this house for you.
100%.
And those kinds of things are just, it was interesting how it pulls you in. And I just hope that as you move forward, you can do more of that stuff in like the albums you put together and such, because intros are needed.
Yeah,
Hear that, everybody? They're needed.
Intros are needed. I definitely want to get deeper into all of it, like the literature, the structure, the whatever.
Yeah.
I want to just get deep into it and then really have fun playing with it, you know?
Hell yeah.
I'll have more to work with.
Yeah. And actually that segues well into the next question. Tell us a little bit about, music that you're working on right now. What do you got cooking? What can we look forward to?
What I can say is that once again is a good base. Once again, Sweet Dreams are good bases of where we're going.
Okay.
And where we're building from.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not exactly the same, but that's the lane that I'm vibing with right now.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, definitely looking forward to that. And then for this next one, I want to take a moment. I want to zoom out. I want to look at kind of music as a whole.
Okay.
What are some things about either new music, if you're one of those people that's checking out the new, or at the very least music that's new to you, that you've found recently and you're listening to, that you enjoy and you're finding inspiration in at the moment?
I'm really liking Caribou.
Oh, hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Will Survive.
Mm-hmm.
Lotto. Lady London.
Mm-hmm.
Those are like, Lil Tyler.
Mm-hmm.
I love me some Lil Tyler. Yeah, right now, like, that's kind of who I'm looking at for inspiration.
Mm-hmm.
As far as just even their branding. I'm really into like studying the branding side of like the artistry and stuff like that. And so like while I'm finding myself in my artistry, I'm also trying to find what my brand is and how I'm gonna push that and like get people to receive it.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully they resonate with it. And but yeah, those are the artists I'm liking right now.
Oh, yeah, those are all quality artists.
Thanks.
And then before we get into the next portion, this next question is probably the densest question in the interview.
Okay.
We've talked about your experiences, the actions, the reactions, but when it's just you and music one-on-one, what does music give back to you?
Music gives me safety. Music gives me peace. Music gives me reassurance. I think that music gives me love in a lot of ways too, when there's nothing else there or I feel like nobody can understand what I'm trying to get across to them. Mm-hmm. Or just being I'm a single mom, and so just navigating through life with two beautiful boys. Music gives me a place where I can just say literally whatever I want, however I want. And as long as it sounds good to me, it don't matter,
Yep.
And that's a beautiful relationship. Yeah, I just love music.
Probably one of the most concise answers we've ever gotten to that question. Thank you so much for sharing that. All right, now I want to go ahead and we're going to move on to some hypothetical questions.
Okay, cool.
And for these, sky's the limits. The questions are all made up, so the answers are allowed to be as well.
Cool, yay.
But this first one's pretty straightforward.
Okay.
If you could work with any one person, the only requirement is they have to be alive. Who would you want to work with, and how would you want to work with them?
Oh my gosh. I want to work with her, and I can't even pronounce her name. That's so embarrassing. Taraji P. Henson.
Okay.
Maybe not in the music industry, but just like as a business mogul. Honestly, just to have like a lunch or a dinner with her and just have a conversation with her. I just think she's such an inspiration, and like I just think she's awesome. So yeah. And then music wise, I would really like to work with Caribou. And then like taking it back to like me growing up, I'd really like to work with Sierra.
Oh, hell yeah. Damn. I would love to have Caribou and Sierra on a track together.
Or Chris Brown or Rihanna.
Fair.
Just in case if they're listening.
Yes, Chris Brown, Rihanna, if you're listening, do it. All right. And then subsequently, who's a local artist that you're aware of that you haven't gotten to connect with yet, but you would like to?
A local artist. I know Soul Luna is like local to Portland. We actually just connected on social media, but we haven't got to like link in person, which is something I'm looking forward to. He's really dope. I don't know. Not off the top of my head. I can't think of
That's all right.
I've actually met a lot of artists in Eugene and in Portland, like, thankfully.
Yeah.
So I've networked with a lot of them. So if I'm forgetting anybody, I'm sorry.
That's all right. And then for this next one, like I said before, sky's the limit, and it's pretty literal in this sense. But if you could perform anywhere in the world, and you wouldn't have to worry about crowd access or building stability or power, it was guaranteed the best lineup, guaranteed the best show. And it doesn't have to be a venue. It could be anywhere. Where would you want to perform?
Okay, can I say 3 places?
Yes.
Okay, Barbados, Greece, or Barbados, Greece. Okay, maybe I only had 2. Let's see. Yeah.
Dang, I was really ready for the third one. I was going to be like, somebody grab a map, see if it makes a triangle.
And now I want to pick between like South America and Africa, but like one of those 2, you know, just somewhere that just like gives the vibes, you know, like just some good, like, yes, we're ready to just enjoy the culture and the food and the music and dance and look good and be happy. And yeah.
Dang, that does describe both of those places really well. Oh yeah, well that's a good world tour planned out right there.
Seriously.
And then to wrap up the hypothetical questions, if you could get one more album from anybody, they could be alive, they could be dead, they could have not put out an album in 100 years, they could have put out an album yesterday. Who would you want an album from?
I always want another album from Chris Brown. He can drop a new album once a month, and I would be happy about that. I'm just kidding. No, I'm not.
I mean, I was gonna say, like, that's a valid answer.
Rihanna. Rihanna, we need some more music.
Yes, again, Rihanna, if you're listening.
We miss you, girl.
Yes.
Your music is so good.
Hell yeah.
And now, like, that she's a mom too, I just like want to hear about her experience, even if it's just straight sappy. I love my baby and my man and my life music. I just want to hear about it, you know, because she's just dope. Janae Aiko can always drop an album any day of the week. I will be there for it. Yeah.
Again, all great answers. All right, but with that being said, we're going to go ahead and start wrapping this up.
Okay.
What can we look forward to between, let's say, now and May?
Okay, now in May, you can see me pushing the EP quite a bit. I'm going to also be laying low-key more. I don't really have a lot of shows lined up, but I got things in the works, so don't think that I've fallen off. I'm just, you know, resting and trying to prep for what's to come next.
Yeah. Wintertime is for making music anyways.
Exactly, and chilling.
Yeah.
In 2025, I don't really want to speak on it yet.
Okay.
I'm still manifesting, but I just, yeah.
No, I dig that.
Things, lots of good things.
Oh, definitely looking forward to all of it. For this next one, then go and look straight at your camera. Tell everybody how they can find you.
You can find me at the.divine, so THE.DIVIN3. That's on my Instagram and my TikTok. And those are the only 2 places you can find me right now.
Oh, yeah. And then any other plugs, any other shout outs, anybody else you want to put on while you're on here?
I have so many people that are in my village and that support me. So I will forget everybody's name because I feel like I'm on the spot, but you know who you are and I love you always. And thank you so much for supporting me and, you know, carrying me through this dream. Yeah, because we're going to get to the top together, period.
Oh, yeah. All right. Then with that being said, we've got one last question to go. But before we do, I'm going to steal the camera for just a second.
Okay.
As always, y'all, please make sure to like, subscribe, push all the buttons, do all the things. You know, I don't know where they are, but you do, and I trust you. And one more shout out to the Brothers Apothecary, Raw Records, and Portland Water. Thanks for keeping us hydrated. And with that being said, the final question. And this is entirely up to your interpretation.
Okay.
But what is an album you feel is more on the obscure side? It's a bit of a deep cut. It's one not a lot of people would know, but it's one you think everybody should know.
Any of Nickelback's albums.
Okay. Okay.
That's like super random, but like if you really listen to his music, like he's really saying some deep stuff. And when you're feeling low, like, you know, Photograph or, you know, any of those songs, they really take you back and just get you through.
Oh yeah. You know, I won't say he's a deep cut per se, but I can't tell you the last time I listened to Nickelback. So
yeah,
hopefully everybody's not in the same boat as me and checks them out. But that we'll let that one count. All right. With that being said, we're going to go ahead and get on up and out of here. Thank you so much for joining us
Thank
today.
you so much for having me.
Yeah. And this has been another exciting episode of Jimmy's Jambox. I'm Jimmy.
I'm Divine.
And we're signing off. Later, y'all.
That's a wrap.
This is not a podcast. This is a show.
Keep jamming.